Extra legroom, free Wi-Fi and complimentary food and drink among the perks of first-class rail travel. According to a new survey, though, that's not drawing in enough passengers.
The research found that most first-class seats on trains into London remain empty, while commuters are forced to stand in standard carriages. So, should we scrap 2 tiers in the trains to try and solve the problem of overcrowding? Ben Moore's been speaking to some travellers.
The familiar rush hour clamour for a seat. But every day, hundreds are left empty on our commuter trains in first class. The Telegraph has looked at rush hour trains arriving in London. It found on average only 50% of first class seats were used, even when standard class passengers were standing. It could be argued that the backbone of Britain is its railways, and nowhere else is the class system more in evidence than on the train with its first and standard class system. But on this line, Birmingham to London, it's a touch more egalitarian.
This train is standard class only. We abolished first class on the vast majority of our trains quite a number of years ago now. We decided just to increase the quality of all accommodation throughout the train and not offer a specific first class product instead.
But waiting for the evening commute, Chiltern's latest rolling stock with a well-appointed business class that looks familiar.
It's not a first class ticket. You can simply pay a supplement on top of your existing standard class ticket.
But it is a better class, a better way to travel. First class in all but name.
Not really. The idea behind the business zone is very much to provide a better quality working environment.
It seems it could be a while before train companies wave goodbye to first class. Ben Moore, BBC News, Birmingham.
So, Transport Commentator journalist Christian Wolmar joins us now. Very good morning to you. You travelled up on the train to visit us last night.
But the BBC only pays standard.
Yeah, well, fair enough. And how was first as you walked past it enviously?
It was about a third full, but to be fair, the standard class wasn't enormously full either, but it was a 9 p.m. train, so you wouldn't expect it to be.
It's an emotive issue, this, isn't it, Christian? Because I mean, people get furious about the fact that they're standing and they see empty seats in first class. But what are the sort of implications in terms of the way we plan our rail system?
Well, I think one of the problems, particularly with the line up to here, the Virgin line, is that there's too much first class in relation to the standard class. There's 4 carriages of first class and 5 of standard class, and that's clearly ridiculous. So the first thing one could do is reduce the amount of first class in relation to standard class if there really is a big overcrowding problem on that particular line.
Would that have a financial implication? Is Virgin, or train companies in particular, subsidising their standard class passengers by offering as many first class seats as they do?
Well, they keep their figures commercially confidential,
right,
of course, but I somewhat suspect that they like the idea. In fact, when I've talked to railway managers, they like the idea of first class because, you know, if you're paying 250, 300 quid, whereas people in standard class might be paying as little as 20 quid for the same journey, obviously they're making a lot more money. But, you know, I think one has to look at it in a wider context. This is a public service that is subsidised quite heavily. So if there are people standing, should they not be forced to kind of change them into standard class trains instead?
Is there a relevance of this debate to HS2? Because thus far the argument has been we need HS2 because we need capacity. There is no other way of getting enough people on the trains. If we're saying that the trains are running and there's empty capacity, is there an answer there?
There absolutely is. I mean, one could certainly change over some of these carriages from first class to standard class. And you'd get 20, 30 more seats every carriage you do that for, and that's on every journey, so it would make quite a difference.
Enough to make a difference to that argument, though? I mean, enough to say in 20 years' time that would suffice?
Well, the HS2, which, you know, we could go on all morning about, is about a lot wider considerations. You know, how much is passenger growth going to keep on growing?
And what is the discretion of the train manager when it comes to really crowded standard class? It's all right, I'll open up first class. How annoyed do first class passengers get about that?
They do have that discretion, but yes, first class passengers are paying for exclusivity. They could open up one carriage, for example, But, you know, they don't necessarily do that because they say, well, you've only paid standard. Why should you have the right to have this better accommodation?